Okay, so if you're comfortable enough to close your eyes, you can do. If you want to keep your eyes open, then feel free to do so as well. If you keep your eyes open, it might be an idea to focus on a spot in the wall. And as you do that, just breathing naturally and normally. And as you breathe, just naturally and normally, perhaps you can feel your feet on the floor, hear the projector in the background, and as you hear the projector in the background, you feel a sense of warm relaxation spread from every cell of the body. And just set the intention, what you want to gain from the following exercise. Anything specific. Perhaps there's an area you're stuck on. Perhaps you have a goal you're looking to achieve, or you've tried to achieve it in the past, and you've put it in the drawer, and now you want to bring it out of the drawer again. You want to find what's stopping you or blocking you or overcome the hurdle. Just a light meditation on just being more aware. Just getting in tune with that. Okay, and in your own time, in your own pace, you come back to the here and now. So we're going to do Brilliant Future technique, which I'll talk you through. Okay. There's a quote by Einstein. He said that we cannot solve our problems by thinking. We're thinking the same thinking we use when we created them. I think for me, I personally, what I would say is, I saw a quote one time, many years ago, Einstein, something along the lines, if you do what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. I would say not even that. I would say that if you keep doing what you've always done, you might not even get what you've always got. And meaning that you can keep driving the same way to work all the time. Doesn't mean you're going to arrive to work on time, because there could be a traffic jam. You could have a way of doing something that you've always done, behaviourally, and it might not work anymore. So I would say that, for me, you might not even get that. If we don't look for more creative ways to change and evolve and see the world in different ways. Certainly where a problem is concerned, you're not going to solve an issue by trying to solve it in a way that's not worked before. It just doesn't make sense to run that sort of hamster wheel. People tend to repeat the same behaviour, but I suppose with all the will in the world, if you don't know where the problem is or what the issue is, or you get gain from the issue, there are people who get secondary gain. Now you think you're doing someone a favour by being the best friend and come to my house for some tea and biscuits and tell me all about your issues. And that might be nice and that might work for some people to a point, but there's got to be a line that you draw at some point. So, okay, now what do you want to do? I mean, you can be someone's counsellor if you want to for the rest of your life. It's not my position to say what you should and shouldn't do. But don't for 1 minute think that you're helping someone overcome an issue if they are getting benefit from the gain they get from talking about what the issue is, because they're not going to solve it. Talking about a problem is useful in one context, but it's not going to solve the issue. If nothing else, it's going to run over the same old ground. And certainly for me, in my opinion, I sort of got to a point in my life where I have the realisation that if someone tells you about a certain situation in their life over and over again, then it starts becoming your problem too. And I've got enough of my own to start taking other people's. So for me, sometimes it can come across as being called to go to process. But I think personally, people might not thank you now, but they'll thank you later. And I've mentioned before that one should probably not do something for someone that they can do themselves, because then they'll sort of depend on you. And we can look at resistance as being not buying into what someone says, but you can look at resistance as being over-compliant. I like the coach so much, I'll just tell the coach it works. And we can tell someone what they want to hear, and you'll be their best friend in that moment, but you can tell them what they need to hear. And it might not be what they want to hear, but it's what they need to hear to move forward. But equally, I suppose, there's a fine line, and coaches, trainers, and you could probably extend that remit to parents too. They want to be the child's best friend. And I think a good idea would be to just, but in the end, the child is the child, and the adult is the adult. Okay, from the point of view that the adult's got life experience. And that's not undermining the child. The child can get to 18, 19 years of age and think they know all the world's problems, but they don't. Because they've not had, most of the time, even when the child gets to 17, 18 years of age, they've not really done a day's work. They've not really entered the real world. They've been cotton wool by the system of school. They've got their own pressures, no doubt, and their own situations that they go through. Of course they do. But the adult has been exposed to the realities of the world. And that experience can be invaluable to say, okay, this is this, and that is that. And that can sort of start with saying, well, you might make a decision on what you want to do career-wise, and that can change. Because I think there's a lot of pressure to say to a 17-year-old, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? So you go to university, you don't like it, leave. If you go and you want to do a new career change, then do a career change. You shouldn't have to commit spiritual suicide at 20 years of age and be in the same job for the next 50 years. That's if you don't want to. If you want to, then that's fine too. I don't make the rules. But from this point of view, the model in the Brilliant Future is quite useful. It was Robert Dills pioneered logical levels, by the way, which this model is based on, the logical levels. You can trace the origins back. For those of you who are like me, who like to read the literature, I'm one of those sort of sad people who likes to read the literature all the time, and scientific, and I've got to see and where it's come from and who's done it. For those of you who are anything like me, you'll look at Russell's work on logical levels, logical types, and you trace back the origins according to the theory of logical types proposed by Alfred North Whitehead and Bertrand Russell. So one must distinguish between a class set and the elements of the class. A statement that refers to class manifests a higher level of abstraction. Bateson then took this further to consider logical levels of learning, and Dills, as a result, developed the levels of learning and change, which won't go into too much detail for now, because I'm going to go into the technique and process, but here you've got where we sort of come up with a brilliant future. A model is used for understanding change in a person, a company, a team. Notion of levels is a way of distinguishing which part of somebody's experience they currently are paying attention to. So what part of my experience am I focusing on? Okay? And the levels involve environment, behaviours, capabilities, values, beliefs, identity, vision, for want of a better word. So we're going to use the process, and if you don't have, I'm more than happy to email you the logical levels framework to read in more detail. For now, we're going to focus on the process called Brilliant Future, which has the basis of that. I thought we mentioned that. So you can be a master of your own destiny to a point. Does anyone believe you can be a master of your own destiny? Who believes you can be a master of your own destiny? Okay. I think to a point you can. I think to a point you can. There are things you can control, but there are things you can't control. Okay. As much as I like to think I can be a master of my own destiny, there are things I can control, things I can't control. So someone can come along to me and say, you can have everything you want. Can I really? So if I can have everything I want, can you have everything you want? Can we all have everything we want? We all chase the same job, and there's only one job opening, we all have the same job. So we all fall in love with the same person, we all have the same person as a partner. Well, probably not. But then you've got to ask, do you really want that? And that's the point. So being a master of your own destiny is useful to a certain great belief to have, but I think from an idealistic point of view, there's that realization that there's only so many positions in sport. There's only so many opportunities in certain areas of life, and we've got to be idealistic. I think we've got to be realistic as well to a point. But equally, in saying that, I think we've got to believe that there's a lot more that's possible than we're told that we can do. I'm sure you've done things in your own life that sort of surpassed your own expectations, or maybe not. Maybe I'm projecting my own thoughts, but certainly my career as a professional across various areas, there's been certain things that I may have doubted, but you sort of get on with it. But we want to focus on maybe aiming high. What's the drawback in aiming high? What's the worst that can happen if you aim high?
You don't get that.
Precisely. And how does one feel when we have these expectations and we don't get the expectation? Yeah, I think so. That's the worst thing in aiming high, I think, anyway. If we don't get it, and we have this expectation, and I think this is the case. The case is that the further, or the closer I am to the person I don't want to be, the closer I am to the person I don't want to be, the person I least want to be like, the closer I'm there, the worse I feel. The closer I am to the person I want to be, the better I feel. So I've got these expectations of who I want to be, what I want in my life, and the closer I am to them, the better I feel. But then the drawback is that I think, okay, I'm going to aim high now. Equally, why don't I just sort of narrow it down? Why don't I just accept my limitations and decide, you know what, sod that. I'm going to find a position with the least responsibilities there is. I'm going to be a bare minimalist. Nothing at all. You know, not undermining that, it's probably a case for doing that, but I'm going to strip everything away and make things easy. Or as easy. And you know what's going to happen then. Nothing stays easy for long. Because you know what generally happens when you look for the easy way out, it becomes even harder. So then I decided, actually, you know what, rather than trying to look for the easy way out, I'm going to hit the gym, or the mental gym, and take on any challenge that comes my way. Because in going there, we're going to have more challenges. But I'm going to evolve as a human being. Because I know when I fall flat on my face, and I know these days, when you used to fall flat on your face back in the day, some of you may not have experienced this from a generational point of view. Back in the day, when you used to mention you were doing something, probably 10 people might know. Now, you can announce it, and there's millions of people that will know. And that puts another sort of pressure on us, because then you've got expectations of other people. And there's an irony with that, because sometimes you do things, and because other people can't do or don't believe they can do, the easiest way for them to feel significant is tear you down. You can't do that. You can't write that book. Who the hell do you think you are? You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't be CEO. You can't turn your life around. There's plenty of those out there. Plenty of those out there. And they generally sit behind the keyboard because it's nice and safe. You can sit behind the keyboard for a cup of tea and you can slag people off all day. Easy. There's no danger in doing that. And you can feel really significant because you're behind that keyboard and you have a go at him, have a go at her. That's easy to do. That's easy to do. It doesn't take much to do that. But equally, the clock's ticking. Tick, 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 tick. And eventually I have that realization. I've worried so much about this person, I forgot about myself. So for me, from that point of view, I think, you know what? Being a leader is going to the place we want other people to go. If I decide that I'm a teacher, I'm going to go to motivation first. If I decide that I want to be a karate instructor, I'm going to do and master some of the moves and lead by the front. Leadership. If I decide that, okay, I don't want my kids to smoke, I'm not going to smoke because I know there's a better chance of them not smoking. Okay, that sort of gives you the parameters that we're looking at here. So aiming high, I think for me, you fall off the horse, you get back up on the horse. And I would say that most of the goals you set out to achieve, you probably won't achieve. But that's okay, because you grow and the journey is the key. You might have a goal and you might be thankful not achieving the goal. When I was 17-year-old at school, I had a few goals to be an athlete, to tour the world, and to do many things. Amongst all the goals I had as a 17-year-old, who wanted to do an academia too, I wasn't academic, but I would end up being studying at university. I had a goal. My goal was to ask this young girl out to the prom when we finished the school. I thought, well, if I ask her, I was 17 at the time, I thought, I'll fancy my chances, as you do. Maybe I was a bit overconfident. So I asked her, I said, would you like to, and she looked at me and well, I won't repeat what she said, as you do. But there's an irony in that, because like 20 years later or so, I bumped into her on my travels and I thought, wow. God's plans. Thank goodness. She only had to open her mouth before. See, that's my issue. I need therapy for that. But scenario, sometimes you don't get what you want, but it's for the better. So the relationship breaks down. Your partner walks out and you think, I can't do what I'm going to do. But then you meet someone better for you, or you sort yourself out. So you lose your job and think, how dare I lose my job? And you feel hurt and pain. But you're so busy looking back on that past pain, you forget about all the opportunities out there. And that's what I say, get the head out of the sand and look at all the opportunities out there. Because you can fight over one crumb. Do you ever see those seagulls? When they fight over one crumb, you throw it at the seagull. The lake where I live, I didn't know the seagulls there. I thought seagulls were just meant for the beach, but there's seagulls everywhere sometimes. And you'll throw them some bread. But they throw bread everywhere. And these damn seagulls just go for that one bread, and they're fighting each other. But there's bread there too. And human beings have got this tendency sometimes to fight over things that don't even exist. Battle for what? The ego battle. There's nothing wrong with arguing. I do it all the time. I do it myself sometimes. I have these internal arguments. I'll be driving in the car and I'll argue with myself. There'll be no one sitting there, but I can find a way to... You ever have that when you're driving and you have a talk and there's no one there in the other seat, but you find a way to sort of waffle on? And it's okay to argue, I think, as long as you share the common vision. Because if I have a disagreement with my coach or my client or my students or whatever it is, my performers in sport, it's because I care and want the best for them. If I then cross the line and it turns into a battle, I'm right, you're wrong, then we're not going to get anywhere. So we've got to remind ourselves sometimes, and you see it sometimes in relationships, people forget they're in that same team. They're damn arguing, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, but they forget they're in the same team. It's like, well, actually, no, what? You're on the same side, one would think. It turns into a battle. So there's nothing wrong, I think, from that point of view, to disagree with the client, because in my mind, in therapy, it's the one area that the customer's not always right, or in coaching. I'm sorry, but in therapy and coaching, the customer is not always right, because you're not a yes person. One of the reasons I get employed a lot in sport is I'm not a yes person. And you can see it written all over the media. Call me what you want. I don't care. I've seen it all on the message boards. I don't give a damn. But one thing that you want to get is a yes person. I'll tell like it is and I'll put my $2 worth in because I think it can help. Not always right, but equally the only way we're going to grow is by sharing experiences. That's the key to all of it. And done respectfully too, by the way. That's the key. So all that you want because you think it's going to make you feel better. So if you want a car, you want a partner, you want whatever you want it because you think it's going to make you feel better. Okay? Does everyone agree with that? Do you agree with that? All that you want, you think it's because it's going to make you feel better? Do you want anything that's going to make us feel worse? Because precisely, it's all because we want it to feel better. So why not feel better now? Why wait till you've got it? Why wait till you've got the car, the partner, the house? Why not feel good now? And we can all go home and have a pint and have a party and have a, because in the end, really, the best chance you've got of getting it anyway is raising the vibration level. So I'm not saying airy-fairy, wishy-washy, feel better now. I'm living on the street, how wonderful it is. I'm saying start as you mean to go on. Don't wait to feel better. And I want you to think about the goal you've got and go to the feeling now. Go to the feeling. And you might think this guy's off his mind. Because I did this course a couple of years ago and this guy said to me, you're out of your mind. I said, yes, tell me something else I don't know. I go, why am I out of my mind? He goes, because I want a relationship, he says. I said, find one. And he goes, well, my partner walked out on me, I feel like crap, it's been a year, I still feel rubbish. I said, well, maybe you should need counselling or therapy, I don't know. He goes, well, no, I'm over her now, but I want to find someone else. I go, what's stopping you? Because I don't know. I get into these sort of negativity feelings and blah, 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 and that sort of stuff. And I said, well, what sort of person do you want to find? Well, I've got an idea of who I want, and so on. But he goes, I don't believe. I can feel good until I find. Well, if you don't believe it, then it's true. but it's your call. I just don't believe it, he says. Unless I find the person I want, I'm going to carry on feeling lost and, you know. And he says, well, I said, what sort of person do you want to find? He goes, someone who's bubbly, vivacious, happy. I said, stop being a visual bastard and you might find someone like that. Because I don't like being around you. But that's the irony, is that we forget, we project, don't we? You know, we forget, we kind of forget, you know. And I'm not sort of undermining people, you know. We all go through phases, by the way. And he'd been through his phase. I'm just saying, from my point of view, whatever you want to feel better. You may never find that person, you may never find that job, but I'm not going to wait until that day arrives. That day might never arrive. And that's just life. Life's damn unfair. It's fragile. There's no Pollyanna. The grass is green, everything's wonderful. I'm sorry, you've only got to turn on TV and see some of the injustices in this world. And life is damn hard. But equally, life can be beautiful too, and we can seize the moment and get what we can out of it and control our feelings. So we can look at areas of our life we'd like to change. Who's ever felt stuck before? Okay, there we go. Join the club. But we can look at what we can break through. Okay, I think what's quite useful is projecting to write a letter to yourself. Like you've got what you want. Okay, so it's May 2019. I'll have done this, that, and the other. So I do a lot of projecting, and I teach my clients to project because that sort of drives me forward. Okay, so it's May, whatever. It's December 2019, and the book is #1 on Amazon. Sold so many copies, and I think by doing that, you turn the invisible into the visible. And you've got a sales team, maybe every 6 weeks, where do you want to be? You've got a karate thing, where do you want to be? You know, and that sort of, you can apply it to all areas of your life, collectively. And you can open up, you might surprise yourself, or you might look at it and think, okay, I haven't achieved these things, but I've done that. And you might say 2 out of 3 is not bad, so to speak. Sometimes you don't get what you want, but be philosophical about it if you don't get it. The journey. You just climb Everest and look over Everest and then you think, is that all it is? Because after that moment, it's the journey, the training, that's what sort of, for me, is the big thing. And the journey is the big thing, I think, in my opinion, because a lot of us sort of get hung up on, when I get there, I'll feel good. When I do this, I'll feel good. And you see it a lot in modern society, by the way. When I have this car, I'll be happy. When I have this job, I'll be happy. When I find this relationship, I'll be happy. When I go away on holiday, I'm going to be happy and relaxed. No, relax now, because you can do mindfulness now. And you see it. It's like you see people that put on, even on social media these days, you see it. I can't wait to go away on vacation. I'm going away to the tropics in 6 months. And every day I can't wait. You know, it's countdown. 5 months to go. 4 months to go. 2 weeks to go. And then you're lying on the beach. 1 week to go. And then the next post you see, wonderful. You see this wonderful beach. I'm having a great time. I'm so happy. I'm relaxed. I'm calm. And you think, wow, they've achieved their utopia. But a day later, I can't stand the food. I hate the people. You know, I can't wait to go home. It's too damn hot. And then they go home and, oh no, it's windy outside. I wish I was back on holiday. They don't control. Their head is everywhere. It's about getting that mind and just, you know, controlling it, because their head's out of control. And I think for me, that's where sort of mindfulness comes in. To be in the now is a useful thing. So we can choose the goal. It's a useful technique you can do. I'm going to sort of talk through it, you know, play ball and go from there. You know, it can be anything for getting in shape, going to university, writing a book, doing a driving test, setting up a new business. It doesn't really matter, really. But I'm going to guide you through it. We'll work collectively together, and we can sort of practice after lunch, if you will, or we can take what you will. I can email you the template too, if you want to and you want to practice it. And if you've got clients you work with, it's a great tool to use. But let's start with the image in mind. Let's start with the end in mind. Let's create an image of what you want that component of your life to be like. And perhaps you want to close your eyes while you're doing that. You can walk people through the process, by the way, if you want to. And I'll go into that in more detail as we go along. Walking it through has got value. So you can say, okay, step 1, so create an image far off in the distance and walk your way through if you want to. You can do it that way, and I'll go into that in more detail. But for now, we'll go through the steps, and you can do it in your own mind. So think of the image, what you're wanting. Just create an image in your mind. Perhaps it's easy to close your eyes and really focus on the image. It could be a best book, it could be completing a course, it could be going on holiday. Just make sure you choose somewhere where you like the food. Just create the image in your head, what you want. Or maybe life collectively. Okay, just take some time to fine-tune the image. Start the end in mind, the vision. Any negative thoughts don't disintegrate the atmosphere. They're not relevant for now. Okay, so you've got the image in mind. You know what you want to do. You've got an idea. It's not perfect. The goal, the outcome. Here you mentioned earlier, mark 2 spots on the floor. From where you are, the time frame of when you want the goal, and work your way back. If it's easier for you to do it in that way, you can. You don't have to. There's no rules that do things. But I'll sort of mention that. So you can lay the cards in equal spaces, which we'll go into more detail. But for now, we'll talk about what each domain involves. So you've got the future there somewhere in the distance, and then we're going to go through beyond the goal. So now what you can do is, if you go to position beyond the goal and just visualize it in your own mind, and imagine going to a point beyond the goal, and you can look back after achieving the goal. So you're in a place where you've achieved the goal. See, hear, feel. Really feel the goal. Really feel it. Really feel the goal. Okay? And as you feel the goal, you see it, you can imagine stepping beyond the goal. As you step beyond the goal, just look back at the person you were when you started the journey, and give any advice you'd like to give. What advice would you give to the person that you were when you started the journey, from the point when you've got the goal? So now that you're a best-selling author, now you're the company director, now you're the business owner, now you've traveled the world, whatever it is that your goal is, what advice would you give the person who started out in the beginning? I'll tell you the advice I'm giving myself. Good luck. You're going to need it. Okay. Because your goals change. My goals have changed. I mean, I'm involved in football now, and I'm involved in many other things now that I've been involved in a long time. I do seminars around the world, write books, do radio, all of which people at some point said I couldn't do, by the way. Or at some point people said I couldn't do and still say I couldn't do now. When I first went to university, at Loughborough University, to do sports form and conditioning, to tell the truth, I didn't know a noun, verbal, the alphabet. I didn't know. I was too ashamed to say I didn't know, but I put my head down and studied it. And now I've been a lifelong learner. Incredible how many years I spent at university since then. Equally, when I was going to write my first book, people said, you got no chance. On radio, people said, one woman I did some training with, I paid for a training course, says at the end of it, she didn't tell me in the beginning, at the end of it she goes, you don't articulate yourself well to be on radio. I said, you should have told me if I paid you to train me, as you do, but there you go. But I ended up taking the show to #1. And that's the way it is. Some people say that stuff to you. I remember when I did my first presentation as a speaker, and I present around the world, hundreds of people. I did my first presentation, and I had to build up so much courage to do it, because for me, public speaking wasn't natural. I could compete as an athlete, fine, in front of people watching, not a problem, because they weren't in my zone. I could do music and hide behind, other people. Music and sport were my two big things. But put me in a room like this, and I'd hide behind here. And I did my first talk one time, and someone gave me a really, really bad review. And that smashed my confidence. That really smashed my confidence like you wouldn't believe. I gave my heart and soul to that talk. I gave everything I had. I was taking nothing from it. I did it because I wanted to help people genuinely. And I got a review someone gave me, like when you got the feedback, it was like a business I did a talk for. I did it for nothing as well. Never a good deed goes unpunished. I went there, I thought I can transform my sports principles and just to help these people out. And I'm reading it thinking, goodness me, I've been slated. It's the worst talk I've ever seen. And like you wouldn't believe, and I thought, goodness me, literally I thought, maybe they got a point. Maybe they got a point, I'll never do this again. But the problem you got with me is that if you're going to challenge me, you know I'm going to come up against you and prove you wrong. It's probably the worst thing you could do. So I'd like to see that scumbag now after I've done 15 years of touring the world and so on and so forth. And to be fair, that could have derailed people. It's a horrible thing to do. When I see people do that to people, I shut them down straight away because it's not a nice thing to do, you know. Constructive criticism is one thing, but character assassination is another thing altogether. But that's okay. I feel people like that it's a projection of their own issues anyway. Because if you don't know somebody, you can't go into that sort of detail. So I treat it as a compliment. So everyone who criticises me, it's a compliment because you've taken the time to think about me, so I'm in your headspace anyway. But the point being is that, you know, the advice is key. It's all hypothetical. It might not be real, but at least you can you know, do something. Identity is a big one. You know, who am I now I've got the goal? Who have I become? So you've got this goal. What's different about me? I've got the goal. And there you see I put down card because some people enjoy to walk through the exercise, the different spatial areas. So they'll walk, say, from identity across the beliefs, and we can have a go at doing that after lunchtime, but I thought we sort of explained the process. You understand. People who are very kinesthetic do enjoy doing that. I enjoy walking them. Sometimes you can hop, skip and jump as well if you want to. So you can put them out there and just hop, skip, jump and whatever you want to do, so on and so forth. But the point being is that, you know, what's different about me? I've got the goal. Who am I now? Because people say they struggle with imposter syndrome. They say, that's a label I've heard before that's been said. They struggle with the identity. The loss, the identity is a big thing. And in the Western world, by the way, our identity is based on our professional existence a lot, which is not good, I think, in my opinion. Because if you get your self-worth and significance from you as a professional existence, if that gets taken away, you lose it, then you're lost. Go ask anyone who's retired, who hasn't got the transition. They've lost. When you talk about transitioning from, say, the forces or retire from the police force or leaving sport, it's very challenging because you lose identity. So the big-time sports person who everyone has adulation for, and that everyone loves the person because they're playing the sport at the highest level, they retire and then they walk down the street, then they're a nobody and they don't have to handle that.
Yeah, alcoholism is right in footballers.
Gambling, yeah, for sure. And I'm not just putting it down to that, but we have issues too. But one of the things that doesn't help is that identity.
Yeah.
Retire, people who leave the forces. It can be traumatic because who am I now? And that's a really, really big transition because a lot of us get our self-worth based on that. They do, and there's more things that makes the eye. Because you could be a great parent, you could be a good many things. And really, young people should be taught young that you're equally as valuable as anybody else. Irrespective of what you do professionally, you are equally as good as anybody else. Okay, you've got as much self-worth. Your self-worth is not just about what you do. Okay, I've met CEOs, okay, who run companies who are flippant psychopaths, sociopaths, who would tread over anybody to get to where they are. And I don't rate them as successful. Someone who's successful to me is a compassionate person who's got love and compassion, has got a heart and intention. Okay, that for me is the big thing about anybody. You know, someone who's got the capability to put a hand out and help someone who's on the floor to do what they can. And we've got this thing, and you know, for example, you look at it, for example, say, you know, parents that do a really good job and the best job they can possibly do. That's the hardest job going. It's a challenging role, but they undermine it. in one respect, I'm just a mum, I'm just a dad, whatever. But a mum's a nutritionist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist. There's many, many roles that are very significant. It's easy to gloss over. And we sort of want to be careful that our identity is not shaped by professional existence.
You said a minute ago that that's mostly in the Western world.
Well, in my opinion, yeah, that's from my observation, yeah.
What would the difference be? Is that people value each other as individuals elsewhere, or is it just because of the...
I think the social construct. I think that for me, it's the way society is constructed, the way we have this sort of path. We have this sort of academia, and if you get this grade, you can go to university, you get this. So it's the way we our social construct. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, but I'm saying in certain societies, young people don't go to see the psychiatrist, they actually talk to their parents. And I'm not undermining the psychiatrist if the kids need help. What I'm saying is that, in certain societies they make time to eat together, which is probably a good thing. There's still a communal feeling in where they live. And I think that's down to the social construct from many variable factors. And that's not sort of suggesting or implying that in other parts of the world they've got it any better. But one thing I would say, which is a really important thing to bring up, psychology is predominantly produced from the West. The biggest contributors to psychology, the way we know it, psychology has been from the West, and mostly European, American, white middle class men. What they have and what they theorise isn't always compatible. So they've sort of spread their ideologies out across the world, but it doesn't always translate very, very well. Because if you want to bring a theory that's been developed in one part of the world to another part of the world, you might sort of say these people thinking differently because they think different to us, but the reality is that it doesn't always blend really, really well. I think now we get to realise that, and it's an irony that it's kind of doing a full circle. We're seeing the value in some of the things that have been proposed in the East for thousands of years. Meditation, yoga, huge aspects of society. That's another story for another day. That's undermining some great people in the world of psychology. Some great people. But all I'm saying, we've got to be careful what we export and sort of be more open about what we import. But I think in certain societies around the world, for one reason or the other, it's just the way it's constructed. I mean, I think in our society, we tend to place our significance on what we do professionally. A huge significance on what we do professionally. Huge. And if you take that away, you don't have a great deal. Another huge significance on security. Well, how secure can you be in a world where nothing's for sure? So we've got to be able to let go and let be, and maybe sort of think, can we be more loving, more compassionate as higher hierarchical values? But that's another story for another day. But certainly your identity is going to change when you go for a goal. It's going to change big time, and if that doesn't sit well with you, you're going to sabotage it. You could find that relation, you could sabotage. You don't feel worth that person. You could achieve that goal, and you think, you know what, I'm not worth that. Many years ago, I did a session with someone who was on weight reduction, and the reason they kept sabotaging the weight reduction is because they had identity. But the identity was Big Leslie called himself, I think it was, and he was afraid to lose that identity because that conformed with his reality. See, and every time he got close to it, he'd sabotage it. The goal. Big thing, identity, how we define ourselves. Am I worth? My beliefs about the goal. My beliefs now that I've achieved it. My values about the goal. Okay, do I value it? Do I want it? Why do I want it? Now I've got this goal, what's different? What do I believe about myself? I mentioned this before when I wrote this in the book that I wrote a while ago. That I was watching one time a program on TV. When I do watch TV every now and again, not very often. I only watch TV to watch things like Love Island and Kim Kardashian. See, it's all coming out now. Okay, I don't really, by the way. But the point being is that I was watching the Jamie Oliver program. I don't know him, I've never met him, so I shouldn't comment about him only other than my observation. But he's doing it like a program where he's doing this food, teaching people to cook really well. It was a town near Leeds, actually, I think it was, if memory serves correct. But anyway, teaching the people to cook better for themselves, you know. And he taught them to cook. He taught them the capability to cook, and the behaviour, the motivation to cook, the capability. Because you can teach someone to drive a car, you can teach them to do IT, you can teach them behavioural techniques, easy to do. You can teach someone pretty much anything, but if they don't value it, believe in it, what are they going to do? They won't do it. So he taught them to cook, they're cooking, having fun. 6 months later, Oliver goes back. Are they still cooking well for themselves? Are they heck? What does the woman say? She goes, it's all right for you, Jamie, you've got money. I thought maybe she's got a point, she's probably worth a bob or two. And she goes, I just give my kids 20 quid, they go buy chippy. I thought, wow, 20 quid buys you more than chippy, you get some good food. No, where do you go shopping? So it's a belief, and they don't value it. Because what he taught them to cook, if you could debate that, I might debate you on whether it was healthy or not. From my point of view, I'm sure people more qualified than me could debate that. But you know, it was better than what she was eating before. But the point being, she'd sabotage it. And how often do people do that? If we want to talk about football, I mentioned this story before when I was watching press conference. I don't know either of these guys either, so I don't want to comment anything untoward on any of them because I don't know them, never met them, probably never will. But I remember one time watching a press conference in football. It was after England had played Germany in 1990, I can't remember what it was now, for the World Cup qualifier. It was. And the manager at the time, when he press conference, he goes, this guy was qualified, had everything could have imagined, had all the motivated, won Football of the Year twice, European Football of the Year twice, everything you could ever imagine you could ever have. And he goes at the end of it, when England got beat, Germany at the old Wembley, he goes, I'm not cut out for this level. See, I, the emphasis on I, identity, not cut out for this level. Identity, belief, where you emphasize the point, tells you a lot about what the person's thinking. The other guy, press conference, when he's unleashed the most successful manager in the modern generation, regardless of what your thoughts are on him, he is, the stats speak for themselves. When he's unveiled, he was never a professional footballer, he was an interpreter, for goodness sake, an interpreter. He called himself the special one, Jose Mourinho. First one, Kevin Keegan, Jose Mourinho. I don't know any above them, I don't know either of the guys, I don't want to speak untoward. I'm not putting their plight on what the press conference, but the insight to their mind, what they said. I'm not cut out for this level, I'm the special one. Okay, is a contrast in the way you perceive your reality. Now, I'm not suggesting at lunchtime go and call yourself special ones, by the way. I've been called special something else. I won't go down there. But the point being is that, you know, there's a fine line, isn't there, between competence and confidence. I can guarantee you, for most things you want to do, if someone else is doing what you want to do, and you're looking at them thinking, I should be there, it's not about competence, it's probably their confidence, their belief, a divine right to be there in their own mind. And this is a good model to use to cross-examine where the issue is. Where is the problem? Because if you're trying to solve the issue at the level the problem is, you won't get very far. Unless it's fishing in the environment, which is one level, then you go fishing where there is fish. But generally speaking, but that would be a change of behaviour anyway, you go to a higher level to change. So if the issue in values, beliefs, you might go to identity. If there's issue in capability, you might go to beliefs and values. Because you can teach all you want to the people to get their life back on track. If they don't value it, they don't believe they can do it, they're going to sabotage it. Okay? If we go to capability, okay, we sort of start moving towards lunch. What are your capabilities now you've got the goal? Now you've got the goal, what did you learn along the way? How have your capabilities changed? Along that journey, what changed? What changed along the way? And this is, for me, in one sense, it's probably the easy part because you can teach pretty much anyone anything to a certain degree. Apart from me doing a handstand. That's not going to happen in a hurry. So the yoga teacher can give up on that. But the point being is that behaviour along the way, what do I do different? Behaviourally along the way. So maybe I got up in the morning a bit earlier. Maybe I went to bed a bit later. Maybe I found a way to get motivated. Perhaps I did one thing or the other. And this is sort of from the point of you having the goal. You've got the goal, you bridge the gap where you were, where you want to be, and then you start working out where you need to work on. The final card is environment. For some reason the slide got knocked out. So think of the environment. What changes in the environment did you make? Now you've got the goal. Okay, because maybe you made the environmental change. Maybe you need to put computers in the office, maybe you need to, the gym, maybe it might be the gym not for you, maybe you walk in the countryside. But one thing we do know, if you don't design your own life plan, the chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they've got planned for you? Not a lot. So it really is about taking control of your own life, I think. And this is a great, great technique we've sort of gone through. We're going to go into more detail, get a chance to practice it. To really dig deep and think, okay, where do I need to work on? Is it my identity? Is it the way I'm defining myself? How I define myself impacts my behaviour in a big way. Okay? In a big way. So the concept of the goal, how does that sit well with me? I got the promotion. Does that resonate? I'm making that transition. Does that resonate? Okay? My identity. How am I defining who I am? Huge. Okay? Values and beliefs. Now I've got the goal. What are my beliefs about myself, others, the world? Okay? Really important in that area because your belief is going to play a big role. What do I believe? What's your why? What's your driver? If you've got strong enough why, if you value it, and you've got a strong enough why, you'll find the why. If your why is not strong enough, you find an excuse. The world is full of excuses. Don't want to hear it. People with excuses. When I hear people say, I could have been a better footballer than him, don't want to hear it. It's ridiculous. You're not, and that's the end of the story. I used to be better than her. Back at school, I was the prom queen. It used to be, it's gone. It's now that matters. Now. Last week, that's irrelevant now. It's now. You can die on yesterday. It's about the now. It's about the value. People say to me, you're crazy, Jim. You drive all the way to London to do a radio interview at 5 in the morning. No, because I need to promote the book at the time. But you drive all the way to do a talk in a school, and they don't give you anything for it. But that's okay, because I want to help young people, because I've been in that situation myself. It's not a problem. The strong enough why, and I will give everything I've got. And so, because if you really want it, you'll do. Belief, you'll do. But your goals change in life. So my goals at one point were different than what they are now. My goals are different now. I'd like to focus on other things. My focus now is going more into neurological things, hence the neuroscience. I want to find ways to help people who've got autism, Asperger, and neurological conditions. I want to find and contribute ways. So I study like mad with some of the greatest people in the world in that area. And I have existing knowledge, and the knowledge they give me, it's not about more papers and more things. I don't give a damn about that, but equally, to do the things I want to do, I'm going to need another paper to publish certain things I want to get out there in journals, but equally, you sort of adjust your sails along the way. I've always had this thing in my mind, but still got other goals, still want to carry on doing some things I've done before, but the point being, that's really important. Okay, and there are times you question yourself. We all do, certainly I do. I think am I sort of cut out for this thing? Can I really put a dent in the universe in the way I want to put a dent in the universe? Can it be done? And there's enough people out there that will tell you can't do it. No, you can't do it, you're out of your mind. No way in the world. Well, we'll find out. And And that's all that any of us can do. I think that's a really important thing to do. So it's a great, great process to do. I'm mindful of lunch. We're going to come back after lunch and sort of go a bit deeper, and you're going to get some really good practical time to put this stuff out there. A great, great model, fantastic model to think, okay, where is it I need to work on to get over this unstuckness, to smash this barrier, at least at the level the issue exists, and above, to start pushing forward. You can apply an intervention. Okay? Huge. I use the model all the time. So now that we've done that, we'll just do a brief couple of minutes before we break for lunch, just sort of settle the mind, bring the mind down again. Okay, so just breathing naturally, normally. And as you breathe naturally, normally, just make yourself nice and comfortable. Just adopt a nice, comfortable position. Okay, as you adopt and find a nice, comfortable position, breathing in through your tummy and out. Deeper breathing. As you breathe deeper, you relax the sphincter muscles, sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic kicks in. Hear the clock in the background. Perhaps you can hear the lawnmower outside. That reminds you of a nice sunny summer's day on Sunday when you're relaxing and you've got the remote control out. You're sitting in the lounge, just chilling out, and just going to a deep state of peace and tranquility. And I'll pause for a moment and let you enjoy a minute or so of just going deep and within. And as you're going deep and within, just breathe naturally, normally.